Why am I getting all the hypotheticals?
The reason we got to the gun to that is because it's the
bro.
only way we can get an answer from you.
That's not true.
Even that is not actually working.
That's a good. Even that doesn't
Even
work.
that doesn't work.
Yeah, it still doesn't work.
And the thing is, I'm answering the questions. I'm just not answering it the way you want me to, which is
Do you prefer red or blue? I prefer fucking orange.
red.
Yeah, but it's like I gave you two
That answer
options.
doesn't affect anyone's life or leave anyone at risk or no one dies in the answer I just
Yeah, but
gave.
if you answer any of the questions that we've asked you tonight, that doesn't have an impact either.
It does on me, on my image. I don't want to say anything wrong.
Bro, whatever you're doing right
And
now
also I
is
feel bad.
worse.
Like I'll feel
Whatever
bad.
you're doing now, trust me, it looks worse than just... Okay, look, well, since you're just being stubborn or whatever, I'm just going to assume you're a sexist then.
Whatever.
Okay, cool. Some Arabic or whatever. I don't even know what that means. But
Literally, like the name of the podcast, whatever.
okay, cool. Let me change it really quick. I'm assuming you're just going to struggle with this one too, or just be intentionally malicious. But let's change the question from... let's change it from black person or bear. Do you think that if somebody picks a bear over black person that they're racist?
You should spice it up and say it depends.
That's
maybe.
literally, I don't know, like another I don't know. And also, I feel like you're intentionally giving me more complicated questions and then getting more upset that I won't answer the more complicated
It's not
questions.
complicated. Okay, it's super simple. If a white person is like, oh, I pick the bear over being in the forest with a black person, would you think they're racist?
Wait, a black man?
I would ask them why.
It's random. So the person is like, it wouldn't matter if it's a black man or a black woman, I'd still pick the bear.
And I don't understand.
But would you think they're, sure, you understand, would you think they're racist?
No, I'd ask why. I'd ask why do you
Because
feel
I
that
was
way?
victimized by a black person.
Well, then I'd say that depending on the race. Well, you said white person is saying this, so then yes, I'd be like, okay, well then you're generalizing all black people.
What? That's literally what you're doing with men.
How?
Exactly.
What?
That's exactly what you're doing
That's
with men.
exactly your reasoning with men. You said...
No, I said I don't feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what if a white...
I don't feel comfortable. I'm not saying that all men would me because sorry.
It's
great.
okay, just say SA.
white
Just say
person-
SA.
not saying that either.
I'm not saying that all men would SA me. I'm saying I don't feel comfortable. So I'm
White
flipping it
person
back
doesn't
on
feel
me.
comfortable.
You're
This is
saying-
how I feel about that.
Well, you're saying you're more comfortable with a wild beast than with a man, but the way you come to that conclusion is a generalization, correct?
No, I'm flipping it on me, and I'm saying I don't feel comfortable.
Yeah, you don't.
I'm not looking at a man and being like, oh, he would
No.
probably.
Look, I know you don't feel comfortable. I'm going before that. How you came to the conclusion that you're not comfortable is that's a generalization. You're taking from particular things that happened.
To me.
Yeah, and you're making a general statement, right?
And that's exactly why I said you're coming from anger towards men. That's how you generalize. And in your head, when
Why are
comes
you
the
using the
question-
word anger?
Because
And I think that's weird. I'm not angry at all.
It is. It has to be.
I'm
it has
uncomfortable.
To have a source. Yeah, but the
fear.
source of that is fear, and
Like
then
resentment.
anger and resentment.
You
and
can
all
be
of it
angry.
Has the same kind of negative feeling towards men.
A negative feeling, and I'm kind of offended actually that you're using the word anger because I think that as women of color, black women specifically, they're always viewed as angry, and I'm not angry. I'm uncomfortable. And you said negative feelings. Those negative feelings all have different statuses, different emotions.
Listen,
You can't generalize anger. I'm not angry at all. I'm uncomfortable.
You generalized men.
No, I
literally
did not
said-
generalize men. I flipped it on me and said what I'm comfortable with and what I'm uncomfortable with. I didn't say all men would do that to me. That
was me.
But that's your core
Thank you.
belief. When you pick a bear instead of
My
man.
core belief is based on me, not me saying that all men would
I
say.
don't care about the base of it.
You
this
just said
was
the
your
core.
answer.
That's the base.
No. Your
if you're
core
gonna debate with
belief.
me, if you're gonna debate with me,
Your
at
core
least be
belief is
consistent.
picking a bear over a man. Period. End of the story.
My
You
core belief is that I'm
picked
uncomfortable
a
being
bear,
alone.
Wild bear that could kill you over a man because deep down you believe men are worse than wild animal.
No.
What if she just feels that way about just people in general?
No, we actually talked. The question was a man and
Not
a
just
bear.
people, yeah. But I have another
We didn't-
question.
But they
If
are
you-
people.
If you got to know
even if it was
how many
one-
minutes to get to know somebody, in this case a man, on the path, would then you determine you'd rather be with him than a bear? Is there you think there's maybe a threshold at which you decided, oh, okay, I trust this person?
No, I don't think there's a threshold.
It's just still the bear no matter what?
It's just the it's just the discomfort of being alone.
Okay, do you have a
with-
brother?
I do.
Do you have a father?
I do.
Okay, so let's take your father. You would choose the bear to be alone on the path you'd be alone on a path with a bear, and you would choose the bear over your own father.
No, I choose my father
But why?
because I know my father.
Okay, so that's what I'm asking. Is there a threshold where you learn that the person earns the trust, in this case a man? What's the threshold at which the man earns your trust such that you'll pick him over the bear?
Probably a few days, weeks, months.
How much money does he have to make? I'm just kidding. Well, that's what I'm asking. This question comes down to trust and knowing people, and what the initial question is asking people to generalize. It's actually forcing a generalization, but it is wild because if you look at it reasonably, it's especially with the second hypothetical where you actually encounter a bear and now you're in danger. Who do you choose? You said a man.
Right. And I disagree with you. I don't think it's forcing you to generalize because you're still asking me and you asked me why. And then I brought up a personal experience of mine. Right. So it's subjective. It's based on what I went through. That's why I answered it the way I did.
Right. But because someone like your dad exists, is it fair to say there's people like your dad? There are people like your dad?
Sure.
Okay. So if there are people like your dad, you're hedging your bet that there's less people like your dad that are kind, that aren't going to do this terrible thing to you, right? You're actually assuming that there's more people who would hurt you than less.
Yes.
Why would you assume that?
I'm not assuming that. I'm choosing a safer option.
That is
regardless of whether they would hurt me or not.
Okay, that is choosing that. Like for instance, if it's not the general question of a man or a bear, if there's a collection of men, there's 100 men, and you don't know which man you're going to get. Mm-hmm. Like let's say that it's 100 people, you just have no idea which man you're going to get, but there's men like your father in there. If we ask you bear or man, your choice is still assuming the worst of the collection of men. That you're assuming the statistics that your bet, right? You're making a bet. Your bet is on that you're going to get hurt if you choose the man, and you're risking getting hurt with the bear. You already know there's a high likelihood of being hurt by the bear.
I disagree with this because a generalization would be me saying right now that everybody at this table as a woman should have chose the bear because all men are dangerous in some way, but that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I'm more uncomfortable with being on a pathway alone with a male than an animal. That's what I'm saying. For me. But there are people at this table that said they'd be more comfortable with a man on the pathway. Okay, cool. Why? Because they have their own personal experiences. So it's not generalized.
Well, no, there's a way to take their personal experience and see if it maps onto reality, and to take your personal experience and see if it maps onto reality.
That's what I'm saying. So like it doesn't match onto reality because I'm subjective. Like
you're admitting that I know, but you're admitting that your own experience is inconsistent with general reality, that most men actually don't do that.
It could be because that's why when you asked me about the percentage, I didn't want to give a percentage because I don't know the percentage. It could be a small group of men are capable of SA versus a large group of men.
Well, that's why I used the elevator example, because the elevator example demonstrates that 1 million times a day, more than that, I couldn't even put a number on it. Everywhere around the world, there's a man who gets in the elevator with a woman. And more of the times that happens, by a lot, the man doesn't harm or even threaten the woman. Okay? But if you swap the man in the elevator with a bear, what do you think the percent difference is going to be with someone being hurt?
I don't like the elevator scenario.
You don't like
I don't because it's a freaking enclosed room versus the woods. Like what?
Do you eat dinner? And if so, how do you decide what to eat?
Don't compare essay to dinner.
Oh,
We're
no, I'm
comparing the
not.
essay to dinner and
I'm
freaking
talking about your indecision. The pattern of your indecision. I'm not talking about
just
I'm
because
not
I have an
comparing or
indecision to
conflating
these
that.
complicated questions that also have emotional reasons behind them doesn't mean I'm indecisive in my regular existence.
Understandable.
Okay.
Okay. But you agree that you're a sexist?
I'm not a sexist.
I mean, you kind of are, though. Against men? Kind of are.
I'm not.
I mean, you'd rather be with a wild animal than alone with a man. It's kind of a sexist statement.
No, it's just I'm more comfortable with that. That doesn't mean that I think all men are capable of essay.
Yeah, what percentage?
I don't know.
She doesn't know. But I mean, you weren't even able to definitively say if you would save the entire population of males in the hypothetical.
I'm lost. I'm over. What?
The hypothetical was, okay, if you could stop SA, but it meant you had to just get rid of all men, would you do it? And you didn't give a yes or a no.
Correct. I did not.
Right. The fact that you don't give an immediate knee-jerk, no, I'm not going to delete 4 billion people or whatever, how much it is. It's pretty crazy.
Well, that also sounds like you're like attacking the people that didn't choose the answer that makes more sense to you as well. The people who wanted to delete the 4 billion people.
Wait, can you repeat that one more time?
If you're getting
upset.
Are you upset? Is that the right word?
Yeah, I would.
Frustrated?
Sure. I mean, I'll put it like this. The fact that you are essentially unwilling to save, give an affirmative that you would save 4 billion men, but the entailment is, well, this crime that the fact that you won't give an affirmative on, I want to save 4 billion people. Yeah, that's pretty.
So would you debate?
That's pretty damning. Pretty damning.
So would you debate with a person that definitively made the decision to eliminate the 4 billion people to get rid of SA? Would you be attacking them like you are me?
I would be attacking them worse, but
okay.
Your refusal to answer the question points to the same answer.